Hi everybody, Colter Brown here. Thanks for joining us for Northern Ag TV. Well, last week, Potomac rancher Justin Iverson, who's the Montana stock growers representative on the Montana Beef Council, traveled to Japan on a trade mission with the U.S. Meat Export Federation. Now, by volume, Japan is the largest export market for U.S. beef, and by value, they've imported $1.2 billion worth of our product this year. Justin said they certainly kept him busy in Japan, but it was evident that Japanese consumers love U.S. beef.
We traveled to Tokyo with a group of beef producers and pork producers, corn and soybean folks, and we've met with some retailers, some importers, we've met with embassy, we've had information on the economy. The Japanese really value quality over quantity, and they really want good American grain-fed beef. They want that way more than any other beef available. They like the flavor, they like the texture, and it means something special to them.
Justin said there are still opportunities for U.S. beef to expand in the Japanese market and create more dollars for ranchers. Said that's evidenced by the variety meats market, where things like tongues, intestine, and other offal don't have a lot of value on the U.S. market, but they're high-value products in Japan.
It's important for us because it adds more value to each carcass that we send off and have processed. So it adds more money in the pockets of everyone down the chain, and also makes sure that I have a market for my beef. I have a place to go with the beef that I raise in Montana.
Well, we can pretty well put a bow on wheat harvest for 2024 in Montana. A variable crop for sure. Heard a lot of strong winter wheat yields this year, but protein was an issue for a lot of growers, whereas spring wheat had good quality but yields below last year. On our For the Farmers tour last week, we stopped at the United Grain Elevator in Culbertson, where manager Jason Beaushore told us that by and large in northeast Montana, growers were pretty pleased with harvest this year.
It was good. The yields weren't quite as good as last year. Farmers were very aggressively putting the wheat in the bin. I would say most of this year's harvest is still on the farm, so I was basically getting the leftovers. And even then, the grain was very high quality. By and large, test weight was on point. DHV, so the color was very good. I hardly saw any below 80. Proteins were really to the far right end of the scale. Very little came in below 14 protein. And we did have some test weight issues with some of the later planted wheat, but by and large, all the wheat was nice and heavy, 60 pounds or more.
Well, the Montana Angus Tour kicks off in Lewistown today. Our network's Brett McCrae and Amelia Soroki will be attending. It starts today with a golf tournament, Angus Association meeting, and the banquet, but tomorrow's when the buses leave and the tour starts. They'll be going all over central Montana. Wednesday, touring places in Judith Gap and Hobson, and then on Thursday, they'll be going north to Denton and Hilger. The Angus Tour's always a great time. Just got to make sure that Brett and Amelia don't have too much fun. And I want to tell you about a great opportunity for youth in western Montana to get their start in the cattle business. The Western Montana Stockmen's Association is taking applications for their Heifer Scholarship, a great program where youth ages 10 to 16 can receive a live heifer, and they develop her throughout the year, start their own herd, and they're paired with a mentor to help teach them the ins and outs of the cattle business. In the last 7 years, 81 heifers have been awarded in the program. The application deadline this year is going to be October 15th. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll be back in just a second for the markets.
From the beginning, we've worked closely with farmers. BNSF's ties to the agricultural community go back 175 years. Together, we've innovated to make the U.S. agriculture supply chain one of the most efficient and productive in the world. Our strong relationship powers BNSF still today and helps us move the nation like no one else can. At BNSF, we move the nation for you.
Well, as we come back to look at our cattle markets, the futures had a very strong week last week. Live and especially feeder cattle posting some strong gains. But since then, the past two sessions here have been kind of quiet, just in a holding pattern, waiting to see if we can push this market higher still or if we're going to fall back. Thankfully, the cash trade was finally supportive last week. Live deals $1 better from 180 to 184, and dress trade $3 higher on the average from 288 to 294. Northern Livestock Video held their fall premiere sale on Monday. Starting off, we saw some straight 400-pound steers bring $4 a pound. Most of the upper four weights were $320 to $340, 5 to 5.5 weight steers $315 to $320, with their weaned counterparts $330 to $337. Upper 5 weight steers $298 to $307, and the 6 to 6.5 weights $272 to $287. Lots of bred cattle in the sale this time, with 3-year-olds topping the market at $31.50. Bred heifers range from $22.50 up to $27.75, and the 3 to 6-year-old bred cows $21.50 to $2,500. And light lambs in St. Onge managed to hold steady, but the lambs over 75 pounds 5 to 7 lower. 70-pound lambs 173 to 185, 80-pounders 160 to 170, and the 90-pound lambs 148 to 157. And there was a lot of optimism in the wheat market going into the weekend. We've seen a pretty good 3-week rally, but coming back on Monday, the market tumbled lower. Chalk those losses up primarily to technical pressure and profit taking. Now, the U.S. dollar index has continued to fall, and escalating tensions in the Black Sea could disrupt wheat flows, so hopefully this market will regain its footing. But on Monday, we saw 14 to 19 cent losses in the futures, with December spring wheat closing at $6.19 and winter wheat at $5.80. Well, thanks for joining us this morning for Northern Ag TV. Have a great day.